Suzanne's Paparazzi Jewelry, 24/7 shopping available. 160920 is the code. Show her some love, like she showed us.
Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Coast to Coast Entertainment Network. I am Ace, and you're watching another episode of SportsMinute. Tonight, I am joined by my co-hosts for the evening. We have Mr. James Gonzalez. How are you doing tonight?
Good, crispy bacon. I heard it was your birthday, so I got some birthday money for you. Well, $16. I don't know if you want it, but happy birthday, crispy bacon.
Thank you.
He is going to send it to you.
Yeah, like that.
Got it.
Yep. All right. And then, of course, Big B. How are you doing tonight, my man?
Doing good. Just catching up on some sports tonight and trying to get the details on that big trade Minnesota made. And no, it's not the turn back the clock to Dallas fleeces Minnesota for Herschel Walker. So, but
Not?
so
Oh, I think everybody wants to hear about that again.
yeah, maybe on another show.
All right. And then, of course, Crispy Bacon. How are you doing tonight, my man?
Doing good. Yeah, there's a lot of sports going on, and we're just here to talk about all of that.
There's a lot of sports going on tonight, and I've been very, very excited about talking about a few of these topics that I picked out, one in particular. Before we get started, though, Big B, I do want to say congrats to your Vikings for making a trade for Cam Akers. I know you said that you were actually okay with that trade. You feel like it was actually a decent trade because it was just swapping picks and you get Cam Akers. So
yeah. I mean, the thing with draft picks is you just never know what you're going to get, down the road. So, I mean, Akers, yeah, he's up there. If he stays healthy, he could be a pretty productive back. But you just never know what 2 years going to bring, where the team's going to be at. So I'm okay with it. We'll see where it goes. Hopefully it helps the team stop turning the ball over and, get a win this weekend against the Chargers. So I know they're 1-point underdogs, I think, right now. So we'll see. I think a lot still has to, work with the turnovers and stuff. But so.
All right. So speaking of running backs, because we know that Cam Akers is a running back and just got traded to Minnesota. Speaking of running backs, it kind of brings us to our first topic of the night, which we saw how the NFL is now filing a grievance against the NFLPA because the NFL feels like the NFLPA is encouraging running backs to fake injuries and act like they're more injured than they actually are. Just so they can kind of have the upper hand in contract negotiations. Whether or not I truly agree with this, because I'll tell you one thing, I don't agree with that this is what the running backs are actually doing. If you look at Nick Chubb, there's no way that was faked, okay? That injury was definitely not faked. Saquon Barkley, that injury was not faked. I don't believe that they're faking any of these injuries. All right, but James, I'll go ahead and start out with you. How do you feel about this? Do you feel like the NFL has a leg to stand on? Do you feel like the NFL is in the right with this?
Oh man, I'm hoping this doesn't lead to dysfunction in a way where there is a strike or a lockout or whatever. That's what I'm hoping won't happen. But we've seen this before between the Players Association and the NFL. Remember, they had that Zoom meeting, all the running backs, and then some of them eventually got paid, some didn't before the season. So that was a big deal. And I think this is the NFL's counter-strike to that. So I don't think any NFL running backs are faking injuries. I just think the amount of carries they're going to have, something's bound to happen. Maybe for some running backs out there, maybe they feel like, well, I'm not getting paid too much. I don't want to be here. Like Cam Akers in LA, when he didn't get playing time, he had conduct issues.
Mhm.
So I guess it depends if a running back is paid or not. Maybe they'll try to fake an injury so I don't have to really play, and they already got paid. Maybe that's the reason why. I heard a DJ say this earlier today at work, and I was really mad about it. They were saying those running backs should just learn how to catch a ball and be a wide receiver.
Okay, yeah.
It's not that simple. It's complicated being a receiver. You have to be tall in some instances, and you have to already have so many years of catching passes. Or try to play another position, but another position doesn't get you paid as much as a running back. So it's good for the NFL to counter-strike to the PA about this. It really is.
Yeah, but my thing about this too is like when you first look at this though, think about one of the first guys who complained about this. One of the first guys who complained about this was Melvin Gordon. Okay, of all people. And you look at Melvin Gordon and you're like, you're not even a starting running back. Why are you like, I understand that Melvin Gordon had a few good seasons when when he was with the Chargers, he started out good. Then he had a good season in Denver, whatever it was. But then after that, after he left Denver, there was nothing. And so now he's
Right.
he's technically a practice squad player. He's been on a freaking practice squad. So you have somebody like Melvin Gordon who's coming out saying that us running backs are not getting paid what we should. What can Melvin Gordon say? He's a practice squad player. Huh?
I fumble a lot.
Yeah. He fumbles a lot, and he's a practice squad player. Melvin Gordon has no leg to stand on whatsoever. It's not like now I get, that Saquon was holding out saying I want more money and things like that because he's like a top tier running back, and he's looking at Daniel Jones saying Daniel Jones got, he's not coming out saying Daniel Jones got this, but I know in his mind he's thinking Daniel Jones just got $40 million a year, and Daniel Jones wasn't worth that as a quarterback because he's not even that good of a quarterback. But in all honesty, if I'm the Giants, I would have invested that money in Saquon. That money should have went to Saquon. Now, do running backs have a leg to stand on by saying, well, we need more money, we're not getting paid what we should be getting paid? I don't know. I mean, what's the running back market saying right now? Because we know it's not a run-first league now. It's a pass-first league. So, Big B, what's your thoughts?
Well, I think you nailed it on the head right there in your last statement. It's not a run-first league anymore. It's a pass-first league. I mean, you look at every team, unless you have, a CMC or a Henry, most teams are running two-back systems now. In some cases, possibly three backs. I mean, so you're splitting, 20, 30 carries between two backs. You got a quarterback that can run. There's a split there. So, the running backs, as much as teams like to pound the ball and kill the clock, it just doesn't happen anymore. Everybody's looking for the air attack, the short passes to the tight end, in routes to the wide receivers, short passes to the running backs, and then the deep threat when needed. So teams are built differently. I mean, it's sad to say, that we're griping over people, running backs are griping over millions that we'll never see, in our jobs. But, the time to change is it's going to take, another coach or something that's like, nope, I want to be a run-first offense. We're going to get two stud backs. We're going to get a good offensive line. And we're going to go back to old-school football, pounding the ball. But right now, it's the air attack thing. So everybody's looking for the sexy plays, and sexy plays are the 50, 60-yard bombs down the field. So,
yeah. So you're thinking, So what's your thoughts on the NFL filing a grievance against the PA, saying that the PA is telling these guys to fake the injuries and
If that comes out true, then I mean that's bad on them. But the injuries that we brought up already, there's no way those are fake. I mean, I think Chubb's knee. I think he was a. I think I saw a still picture that he was like completely in an L shape.
yeah.
From his knee down or knee up or however you want to look at it. The Barkley injury I didn't see, so I don't know what that looks like. But I mean,
It's a normal ankle.
injuries happen. And you're talking about running backs and quarterbacks. I mean, that's the biggest part of your offense. The quarterbacks is definitely the biggest part. But running backs are second there, where they get the ball and 9 times out of 10 they meet that line right away, so they get hit quite a bit. So injuries are a part of the game. It sucks that it happens, but I will be shocked if I hear that these players are faking injuries. And the thing is, it's not going to help their negotiations. I mean, just look at Minnesota here. We had Cook, who, when healthy, is one of the best backs, but we decided to walk away because of his injuries. So faking the injury is not going to help.
And Callan is saying, "Evening, gents. It seems like any type of workplace concerns in the NFL are dismissed." I'm saying, "Happy birthday, Chris." And Callan is also saying, "Yeah, someone try and convince me that Chubb is faking that injury. The NFL office is stupid for trying to file this grievance." All right, Crispy. What's your thought?
I mean, running backs do need more money, but I think they should leverage why they need more. They need more money. They need it because they, it's a different game, and they feel like their NFL careers kind of shortened. But they need to figure out a better reasoning why they needed more money besides they need more money.
Running backs' careers, though, are kind of shorter. That running backs are good for usually a certain amount of years, and then they kind of fade off and they kind of start going away. You see that with Elliott. Elliott
Yeah.
as a Cowboy, he started off really strong, then all of a sudden he slowly went, "Meow," and he just started
still
nose diving and just whoop off and gone.
Yep.
But that's kind of what you see now. So in the end, I think we all agree that right now the NFL doesn't really have anything to go on. They can file a grievance all they want, but I don't really think that they're going to find anything here.
No.
I would be shocked if it came out that said that somebody said, "Oh, we have evidence that this actually happened." Then it would be NFLPA, shame on you. That's
Well, the thing is the only one that's going to, if we're going to find a hardcore evidence, it's going to be somebody coming out and be like, "Yeah, my team told me to fake an injury to do whatever." So I mean, it's just like the old topic of tanking to get the number one pick. We know teams plan to do it, but the players ain't gonna do it. I mean,
yeah.
they want to go out and win. I mean, just look at the Houston Texans last year.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, when people talk about tanking, and I know you're bringing that up, and that's fine. I just kind of wanted to say something on that quick. When people talk about how teams tank, I think that is the most ridiculous thing, and the only reason I'm saying it's the most ridiculous thing, why would players tank when they know that that same team is going to go out and draft players to bring them in and replace them, and sign agents and bring them in and replace them? That makes zero sense. Players are not going to want to do that because they're not going to want to tank because they're not going to want to be replaced.
Yep, exactly.
It's that simple. But all right, so transitioning on, we're going to go to the NBA now, and this is funny because last time we mentioned this, we're like, we know there's going to be some kind of stipulation in this, and guess what? It turns out that LeBron doesn't fall in the category. This rule does not apply to him, to where he can sit out any game he wants because this new rule doesn't apply to him. And so at what point does it kind of start getting ridiculous that these leagues look at the people who mean so much to the sport and cater to them? And so Big B, what's your thoughts on this new NBA rule not applying to LeBron?
Yeah, like I said in the chat, local media here in Minnesota kind of brought that up the day it was happening. They're going over their regulations, and somebody said, well, it doesn't sound like LeBron fits into any of these categories, so is he going to be exempt from it? And they kept reading and said, yeah, if it's X age over X amount of hours played or something, I couldn't remember. So, yeah, LeBron gets a bye. I mean, catering to the superstars and, NBA, NBA, I think, has changed the biggest over how they treat their superstars, and these super teams are being built, and and they try to do it every year to make it so it's not that easy for these teams to, build these super teams. But yet, if they want to pay the luxury tax, they can do it. They can get through it. So, this new rule it's going to get used to, but I think you have to play under the same guidelines. So, if they're trying to stop the load management, LeBron has to be a part of that. So I don't think it's right.
No, I don't think it's right either. But if you look at, so I'll tell you, when I looked at some of the comments when they were talking about how LeBron is going to be exempt off this and it won't count, I was looking at some of the comments, and you have all these LeBron James marks who are huge fans, and they're going on there going, good, he's rightfully earned it, he deserves to be exempt. And I'm like, how? So you're telling me that one guy in the NBA should be exempt because of his accolades? That doesn't make any sense. That makes zero sense at all.
Well, and the thing is we all got to remember, he's only played in this league for X amount of years because why? Oh, he came out of high school at the age of 18. So if he would have went to college for 4 years, what the average person did back then, you take 4 years off his pro career, he doesn't get all those accolades. It's a totally different 4 years. So I'm not discounting his ability because he's got more basketball skills than I ever will.
Yeah.
And he could probably beat me blindfolded. So, but I just think that, you're setting a precedent to where now everybody's going to look for loopholes and get out of these guidelines because, LeBron did it, so I should be able to. So,
and Callan, I want to agree with that, but my thing is I know that when the okay, I can't say I know, but in my opinion, I feel like what's happened here is that when this rule came out, they're like, oh, how can we make it to where LeBron can be exempt? Like that's my first thought is when I see this, because they want to cater to somebody like that, because they know that if not, he's going to complain and be like, how can you make it blah, 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 blah. So I feel like that. But Crispy, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm really surprised. Probably not. They would kind of see it coming, maybe, but there's got to be a way to enforce it. I'm not sure what that would be, but I think for the beginning part, they're going to enforce it a lot. But when you get probably past the All-Star break, the All-Star weekend, maybe it'll be less enforced, considering you have less, fewer games to play after that. But
Well,
I'm not sure. I'm not really surprised though if they are going to do that.
So the only thing I can say, and Big B, I know to kind of go back with what you were saying of how the league has changed, I can tell you it has, because if you look at how the viewership used to be, that viewership has gone way down, and it's because of the new things that they've done in the NBA have been just completely ridiculous, and it's and I think it's going to continue to happen. So James, what's your thoughts?
Does anybody here know who the PA president is of the NBA?
Nope.
Isaiah.
No, the league would be awful then. No, it used to be Chris Paul, one of LeBron's best friends. Now it's CJ McCollum, the Pelican guard, shooting guard. He's had a good rapport with LeBron all these years. So I know LeBron, was in the room or at least was on the call saying, "Hey, can you benefit me somehow so I don't have to play as many games during this long ass season? So I can save myself for the playoffs." So I believe he had a hand in that. There's a certain privilege you have. As I think about it, Jordan, Kobe, all those great players in the past, they would be against that. They would want to play, but it seems like the generations going forward after that are more lazier in a sense, or they don't see importance in playing every game. As I mentioned last week, I think there's one player currently, his longest streak of playing games is like 80 something or 90 something.
Yeah.
Back then we had guys playing like so many games in a row, so hundreds of games in a row. That's so much different now with the players looking out just for themselves and not looking out for the league. That's the issue, and that's why everything has really gone down. And that rule that was will allow pre-approved, designed back-to-back allowances for players who are 35 years old on this opening night that has workloads of 34,000 regular season minutes or 1,000 regular season or playoff games combined. So LeBron's right in that list. They looked at his games, they looked at his minutes and said, okay, let's make this the LeBron exception rule. And that's what they basically did. And I was looking at all the players who are above 35 years of age right now. Right now, Chris Paul, he's going to be a fringe starter with the Warriors. Andre Iguodala's on the bench, basically, of the Warriors. Al Horford is 37 years of age. Dragic, 37. But there's no one else that is star-worthy that is over 35 or 35 and over. So this was clearly a LeBron, Chris Paul exception rule that they just put in. And I would think in the future, whenever Giannis, Devin Booker, Joel Embiid, whenever they get to that age, they will take advantage of that rule and not have to play so many games. So it's just going to keep going on and on and on. I really don't like it, but I know Big B mentioned for other players to get away with it. Now, the ones that are under 35, like the Clippers, 2 players with Kawhi and Paul George, I read a thing just right now saying that for back-to-backs, they have to get it approved a week before.
Yep.
I'm like, what? Like, it's ridiculous. And then I guess they have to announce it, I'm guessing, so those fans who come see them.
And I believe the player also has to stay on the bench, though. He has to be at the game.
That's good. Okay, because there's been so many times, especially the first year Kawhi was a Clipper in 2019, 2020, he wouldn't be at the games.
I also, James, if you have the rules up there, I believe, too, that they're stressing that the teams have their players take off the home games and not away games.
That's right. I did hear that. Yeah. That's still going to be less fans at the game and less money earned. Now, they're trying to get it back in some ways with that tournament, and they're hoping the tournament can, in-season tournament, play whatever it is. They're hoping that will generate more money, so these games missed by these key players at home wouldn't matter. That's what they're hoping for. At any rate, it's just really bad, and it yells out privilege to those who are older, and everybody's going to take advantage once they get 35. So I really don't like it. I miss the spirit of competition. I really do.
Oh, yeah. And Callan saying the in-season tournament isn't going to change anything for the NBA either.
It's going to make things so more complicated, and So I mean, so what? You win the in-season tournament, but you don't make the playoffs.
Yeah.
What does that accomplish?
Yeah, and kind of going back to what you were saying, Big B, there is, well, maybe it wasn't you, it might have been James, but somebody said it. But I can tell you that if if Jordan was playing in this era, if Kobe was playing in this era, and this came out, and they're like, "Oh, we're doing this." If Jordan was playing at 40 and Kobe was playing at 40, they would be like, "Are you crazy? I'm not sitting. You're gonna try and get me to sit on the bench? I'm not sitting. As long as I can walk, I'm playing." Like that.
You know,
And so
I mean, Jordan had possibly one of the best playoff games. And it was either the first or second, the flu game, where he had 100 and some temperature and went out and played. Kobe, I think, had a game kind of like that where he wasn't feeling good or something. I mean, that's one reason why I can't get behind LeBron being the greatest player of all time, because of these stupid rules that they got to put in place, and it benefits specifically LeBron James, and because Kobe, Pippen, Shaq, Ewing, I keep going on, would not have dealt with this. They would have said, "Nope, I'm playing. I don't care."
yeah, if you remember too, Kobe finished his free throw shots with a torn ACL.
Yeah, that's what it was. I knew it was something like that.
And I was like, there's not a lot of guys who would have done that. There's not a lot of guys who would have said, I'm finishing this. And I remember that one of Kobe's last years in the NBA probably was his last year. And the Lakers were horrible. Like,
Yeah.
they had like 14 wins. They had like 2 games left in the season. He had ice on his shoulders, ice on both knees, and they're like, oh, are you gonna sit? And he's like, heck no, I'm playing. And I was like, they had 14 wins. They had no shot at the playoffs whatsoever. They were horrible, and he didn't care. He said, I'm going out there and I'm playing. They're here to see me. I'm playing, and that's kind of what it should be like.
Mm-hmm.
Ace, I remember Michael Jordan had a clause in his contract. It was like for the love of the game. So that meant he can play whenever he wanted to. I really admire Michael Jordan for that. He played anywhere. It didn't matter if it was official or if it was like on the street, in the driveway. It didn't matter. So I don't think anybody has that ever again, because they think about the game smaller compared to what money they can make off the court.
Yeah.
That's basically what it is now.
Yeah. All right. So transitioning into our next topic, and I can tell you, we've talked not really like we've talked about the USFL and the XFL before, and how we thought, we've always thought all these leagues come in and they try and make it happen because they want to come in and they want to compete with the NFL. And we know that it ends up being extremely hard. So now we're learning that the XFL is talking with the USFL, and in 2024 they're trying to make that merger happen. They want to merge and they want to make one league, because they're really trying to make a league to compete with the NFL, and not only to compete with them, but to offer an alternative for players who can't play in the NFL and give them money. And that I'm okay with. I am okay with that, because if you look at wrestling too, there's different promotions out there that people can go to. So I feel like in football, why not? If they can't make it in the NFL, at least you're giving them another shot somewhere. Is it going to compete with the NFL? No. I mean, nothing will. There's no football out there right now that's going to compete with the NFL. It is what it is. So, Crispy, what's your thoughts on the merger between XFL and USFL?
It's interesting. I saw that this morning too. I'm sure it's just going to be the XFL. I mean, they're going to merge, but they're probably just going to call it XFL. But there's other alternatives. I mean, if you can't make the NFL, you got whatever is left of the XFL, the USFL, whichever they're merging to. You got Canadian football, you got the indoor leagues, you got, different alternative footballs. So there's plenty of opportunity if you can't go from one league to another and you can't go to the NFL.
Well, I'll tell you, I'm so glad that James is here tonight because I was waiting to ask him this question because I know how he always feels about this stuff. So,
Because
James,
it's stupid.
you can go ahead and take that away.
It's so stupid. Never compare it. Never try to compete with the NFL. I don't care if spring isn't meant to have football unless it's, a spring training, a spring game in Alabama or USC or Georgia. That's the only time I want to hear spring football. I don't care about anything else. It does. It's going to suck for the players that didn't make the NFL. And I'm trying to remember or try to figure out what it's going to be called. USXFL.
They haven't said yet.
Yeah. I hear there's a deal close, but it's not done yet.
They
I think
said
it's
by the end of the week.
Right. Hopefully just to fold right away. That's,
They're not going to fold.
Yeah, just take the losses and get out of there together. That's what I would do after next year once they realize together we can't do anything about it. We joined forces and it didn't matter at all. That's what I feel like about these two leagues and then any type of spring football. I hardly watch any CFL. I don't care. I don't care that the end zone is like 20 yards deep and the uprights are right there in front. I don't care. NFL is almost year round with the news and everything and the draft, combine, training camp, and then you have the season. It's right there. So it's too powerful. And then whatever the league is going to be called, I hope it's done in a year. It's almost like two people getting together knowing that nothing will go right. They're just together for it. And then, okay, well, we have enough money. We can cut our losses and get out of here. That's what I think is bound to happen. I can't see myself watching this league, whatever it's going to be called. It just doesn't matter. The championship games hardly drew anyone. I know they tried new rules and all that, but there's just nothing about it that has intrigue. There's just too much NFL and college out there to have spring football. Like they tried it once in the early 80s with the USFL, and that didn't work out. And then they tried the XFL for 1 year in 2001 or 2000, and that didn't work out.
2001 and 2020.
That's right, 2001. I went to a game actually, the LA Extreme and Chicago, the Enforcers, I believe, and it didn't feel like football to me. It just didn't feel right. So
felt like wrestling.
Almost in a way. I mean, that was cool because that time was an experiment time.
Mm-hmm.
These years you have to be real professional and you have to be right on with your marketing. And they tried everything to market the two leagues, but nobody cared. Like you got NBA postseason, you got MLB starting up in the spring, March Madness kills you right away. No one cares about you on Thursday through Sunday in March and April. I hope the leagues fold after a year and they cut their losses, honestly.
All right, Big B.
I just want to make it clear. James does not care. Is that what we got at?
Yes,
He
sir.
does not care. He does not care.
Spring football, yeah, it's hard to get the concept of football. I mean, I've caught a few games. I know we kind of talked about it, Ace and Chris, and on other shows. Did you see this play? Did you see these rules? Could the NFL do it? I think the only way this would work is if somehow they could get it towards the end of spring when NFL starts up, because now this league starts and we're getting ramped up for football. Now the NFL kicks in. That's the only way I could see it kind of going anywhere. Yeah, in the spring, you can't get it. I don't know. I mean, there are some things that the XFL does that is like, or UFF, so the league has done that's like, hey, maybe the NFL should look at this, and they have, but yeah, I don't think spring football is going to last unless somehow they can inch it closer to the start of where they end, and the NFL picks up just to give us that little, okay, football season's here. Look at this league's going. And one, they have to market their players, and right now, I don't even know who's on the teams from last year to say, oh, they should market this guy, they should market that guy. So,
Well, when last year they started, like the XFL started the week after the Super Bowl. So like
yeah, they try to get the hype, and I think that was the biggest draw weekend for them because everybody was still in football mode. But after they saw the competition, they're like, I'm done. So,
all right. So Tim's saying, remember Trump wanted to move the USFL to the fall to be direct competition with the NFL. They both have said they don't want to be competition. No, they don't. That's why they're not trying to go against the NFL.
They don't want to be competition because, one, they know that they cannot be competition.
Right,
I mean, that's open.
But
because if you get the choice, because if you get the choice between NFL and USFL and XFL, everyone's like, screw that, I'm going NFL. Like,
well, that's because we know the players and stuff. I mean, if there was a way to market them, there is a way the leagues would market their players, but again, if we're all trying out for a football team, NFL team calls or an XFL team calls, pretty much gives you the same amount of money or even less. If the XFL or the NFL offers you less money, but the XFL offers you more, hey, I'm still going to go to the NFL because that's the NFL. The XFL, you never know if they're going to last more than 2-3 weeks. So,
Well, couldn't you use it as like a minor league system, though?
I mean, yeah, that's kind of what I thought. Yeah, you could.
And possibly that's what it could turn into, but I still don't think it'll work in the spring. I think it has to be closer to when the NFL season starts.
Yeah.
Even if it was a 10-game season and they did playoffs and turned it into a minor league, situation, kind of.
That's what they did. Both schedules had 10 games plus 2, like one round of playoffs in your championship.
Yeah,
and Christy's saying I think the XFL did nicely. They
It
did,
bad.
and they tried that with the AAF, and look what happened. Well, the
AAF was totally
that
different.
only lasted
though.
like 4 or 5 weeks, and that
Yeah.
and that folded after that. Like
completely different rules.
that was gone after like 4 weeks. That did not. That one was gone. All right. Going on to our next one, and I brought this up, and we kind of saw this at a Patriot game also. That sometimes fans do these overreactions, and they start fights at football games, and then you see that people actually were messaging Madison, and they were giving him racial slurs and telling him that they're going to kill him. Like, as fans, when is enough? Like, when is enough enough? Like, you have to look at yourself and be like, are you serious? Like, you're going to go that far? And honestly, like, I've said it too. It's just a game. Like, look, I enjoy watching it, but in the end, is it worth beating up somebody? Is it worth using some racial slurs and telling somebody you're going to kill them if your favorite player messes up? No, it's freaking ridiculous. It really is complete. I think what it is that people expect perfection. I really do. I think fans feel like, oh, if this player isn't playing perfect, it's not good enough. Yeah, okay, this person's throwing 6 touchdowns to 0 picks, hasn't turned the ball over. Yeah, but, and it's like, okay, this is dumb. So, Big B, I will start with you on this one. When is enough enough? Like, do you feel like a lot of times that fans like overreact and start fights for absolutely nothing?
Oh, I mean, yeah, I mean, just the start of the fights. I mean, wasn't there recently in the New England game? I think a fan either died or is on
Yeah.
life support. I think. I mean,
Right.
No, he passed.
yeah. So I mean, it's getting ridiculous. I mean, the game has zero impact on our lives. Yes, in the moment you see, Justin Jefferson drop a fumble or take the Thursday game where he reached for the ball or reached for the end zone, fumbled the ball. Okay, yeah, I'm upset, but it's like, you know what? In the long run, he tried to make a play. The fluke thing happens. It is what it is. The whole hate mail, I mean, there were some college kids that got hate mail, death threats. Madison's social media page was blowing up, and I got to commend him because he's actually getting a legal team. He was talking about us, our local radio here. So his agency firm and their lawyers are getting together, and they're gonna start cracking down on it for this issue. So I props them for doing that because again, if they're doing this on social media, what are they doing in their real lives at their jobs and stuff, and stuff like that? The employers don't know this, so I mean, it's something to get out there. But yeah, fans just need to chill out. It's not going to impact your life, no matter if they win or lose. Okay, they win, you're going to have a couple more beers, you're going to celebrate, but they lose. You don't need to go after them on social media. You don't need to write them. I mean, we all make mistakes. We're all not perfect. I mean, even our day-to-day jobs, we all make mistakes. Yeah, some may cost the companies money. Some may not cost them much at all. But again, we just, as fans, we just need to just separate ourselves and enjoy the game itself.
It is. And kind of going back to what, I think I said this a year or so ago. That's why a lot of times when it comes to like, if my favorite team is playing my friend's favorite team, I won't go on there and message them and start talking crap and everything else because it's pointless. It really is pointless. You're supposed to come together as fans. You're supposed to enjoy the game. That's what it's supposed to be. You're sitting there, you're talking crap. It makes zero sense. But all right, so now we have some comments that are rolling in. Those types of people are probably not good people outside of watching sports to begin with. And Christy's saying there are some really disturbed fans out there who go too far. Those type of fans scare me. Callan saying their fantasy team means more to them than how their actual team does. Absolutely. Christy's also saying Travis Hunter. Something happened. Okay, Travis Hunter, the Colorado player who got injured in the game against Colorado State, didn't blame the player who hit him. Tim saying alcohol is a major factor, and and sports are supposed to be fun. They are. So James, what's your thoughts? Like the overreactions and people starting fights.
Well, first, I guess let me dish on social media and all that. It's amazing how many tweets and how many bad messages there are.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm kind of happy, Big B, you mentioned that the player and the people are taking action on that. That's something you don't ever see. But since it's out there, everybody can see it now. It's not just hurling insults at the players at the game. Now it's done over your phone or online or whatever. So that's really good to hear. And I know this happens in all the sports. It could be against your team or it could be against your own team and its players. And then the fans and social media is bad in that way. There could be so much positive on social media, but then there's so many rotten apples out there. But at the games, I'm trying to figure out if I've never been, of course, in an altercation or an argument at the least with anyone about anything at a game. It's weird. I've heard stories. Of course, we've seen all the videos out there. I'm kind of reminded of what happened I know it's last decade with the Giants and the Dodgers. and Brian Stowe, I believe was his name. He was
Correct.
beaten brutally by some Dodger fans at the Dodger Stadium parking lot. That was a really bad eye for baseball and the Dodgers. Well, it always is, but that was really, really bad. So I'm reminded of that, where real life comes into play, like we mentioned with the Patriots fan this last Sunday. What happened to him? Alcohol, like Tim mentioned, right? Or Dave mentioned with the alcohol, that plays a huge factor. You can have stoppages at a certain point in the game for alcohol sales, but people are still going to be drunk. They're still going to be rowdy. I know what baseball, it's what, before the 7th, or that's it, yeah. And in football, I can't remember because I drank too much before the game.
Start of the fourth quarter, I think.
That should be back to like
halftime.
Yeah, it really should be, because when you
it
think
should be
about
halftime if it's a big like Raiders, Chargers, Patriots, Jets, Packers, Bears game.
Yeah, because you can have that second half to sober up. So I could see that. Because, Raider tailgates, you get drunk before the game, before you even get in. And you don't feel like drinking at all at the game after that. You feel good. You feel not drunk enough, but you feel like you've drank enough. Let's just say that. And fans take advantage of it. There should be limits, I think, on fans and how much they can purchase beer-wise. But yeah, people have to be kind of like me, where my teams are miserable anyway. I can't defend them. If a person comes up, wearing someone else's team colors or their jersey or whatever, and they say my team sucks, well, okay. That's how I go about it. I literally can't say anything back. I don't want confrontation. So maybe I'm the 1% in this NFL or NBA and MLB group where I'm just like, I don't care. I'm not here to argue. I'm here to watch the game. But that's just me. But alcohol can play a big factor. That's the worst part. Social media is really bad with that. On all the platforms too. Instagram is really bad. I've seen all the hate toward all the leagues on there. I see it on the daily, honestly. But yeah, I wish there was a way people can really calm themselves down, especially in New York, Philadelphia, Boston, Chicago, LA. I wish, and even 49er fans have been bad as of late. I guess it depends on who they are too. If they have a reputation, they're bound to have trouble, and it's just something to be wary of. And if there was more security, it'd be nice. But sometimes it takes a while to get up to the upper levels of wherever people are sitting, where altercations happen. And to me, it's always a risk where, man, they're way up high and they could fall down all those seats. I've seen that before. You could die at these games, and it's not worth it. And I know a lot of people don't go to football games because of that. They just find it better not to get in confrontations or not to be drunk enough where they don't come home after the game. I can't. It's just It's just sports. You know what I mean? It's just in a way, it's just a game. Yeah. But people and soccer is the worst. I think one of the worst. All the hooligans. I mean, they have world wars sometimes. They throw flares back at each other, at the players. It's a worldwide troubling problem all across the world with fan fights and altercations. It does get bad. I guess it depends on the individual's feeling on things and how they go about it. But when there's liquor involved or beer, that all goes away. And that's where the trouble starts, I think.
All right, Callan.
I'm with James, and we're probably part of the 2% who hate confrontation. I've been that way my whole life. I would rather just things be, smooth sailing, don't talk back to people and stuff. And I think it's like I said, though, on this program last week, is for me, it's hard to separate myself from the fact I work in sports and then going to a game where I'm not working this game. And it's still hard for me to break that mold. But I have to keep in mind, especially if I happen to go to, NHL games in Anaheim or in any NHL arena, for that matter, even games in the league I work in, I'm representing my organization and representing, you know, my team, my city, and my brand, and also representing the league in some capacity. So, in perspective, when I went to the AHL All Star game in 2020 up in Ontario, who was our main rival between San Diego and Anaheim, LA, Anaheim, I didn't drink at all the whole weekend I was up there, except if I did drink, I was at the hotel bar with my one of my coworkers who I went with up to the trip. Because, like, again, I'm here representing the San Diego Gulls, the Anaheim Ducks, and representing our league and our team. And I sat as far away from our assembled fan base as possible because I didn't want to be tied to anything that may have gone wrong or went right. Even if it went right or wrong, like, I can't personally be a part of this because, yes, do I care about my job or too much about my job? Absolutely. It's been 15 years that I've been doing what I've been doing for a living. But at the same time, though, it's also a reason why my parents never took me and my brother to Charger games when they were in San Diego up until Christmas Eve 2007. And ironically, we're playing a divisional opponent in the Denver Broncos. And the only thing I remember, forget the fact that we won the game like 49-26 and Rivers and Cutler were jaw-jacking on the sidelines. The only thing I can remember was my dad and I were in the view level at Qualcomm Stadium, and this couple who happened to be wearing Denver Bronco colors, walking down the stairs, they may have been the same age as my brother and sister-in-law, just leaving the game. And what do the stupid fans do? They throw a whole cup of beer and hit the girlfriend right in the back of the head, and that sets off a major firestorm up in our section. I'm like, we already have the game won. Let them leave, leave them alone, be quiet, shut up, and leave them alone, basically. But I also think, though, guys, it's more of a notice, though, that it always seems to happen when it's divisional rivals.
Yep.
Dolphins, Patriots, Dodgers, Giants, Raiders, Chargers, Niners and Raiders for a long time. Again, Oakland, San Francisco. I would even think, even NBA games like Lakers, Celtics, even for that matter. That is the pattern I usually notice, is it always seems to happen, like Green Bay, Chicago, Boston, Montreal in the NHL, LA Galaxy, LAFC, and yes, MLS and even soccer for that matter is the biggest offender of fans getting out of control. And to Tim's point with Tim, I think, and if I'm wrong, I apologize, but I think that Tim is living over in Europe. I recall best when I went to Italy in 2009, there are signs on every bar and pub entrance in every language. No football, soccer, jerseys allowed, because who's to say that you walk into the wrong bar and you're going to be thrown out and beat up to a bloody pulp because of what you're wearing on the front of your T-shirt, basically. So I would think, though, that even though alcohol sales, I do recall a couple times before the Chargers did leave for LA, whenever the Raiders came here, there were times where they left the beer taps dry. They did not sell any liquor whatsoever for the entire game in San Diego. And even then, there were still fights because it may have been gang related. It may have been, something else that may have gone on, name callings going on or what have you. And I actually, applauded the Chargers for a long time when they were in San Diego, that they had 5 sections up in the upper view level that was dubbed the Charger family section, where they would not sell alcohol whatsoever in those areas. The Padres did the same thing when I was younger at Qualcomm on the second level of Qualcomm. Legoland had a place called the Kids Corner. They would not sell alcohol in those 5 sections. But it always seems to be when the blood gets boiling because, oh, we're playing the Galaxy. Oh, we're playing the Kings. Oh, we're playing the Dodgers. Let's go out there and start trouble. That's not what it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be, fun. And that's also why, guys, I don't really go to a lot of like big rivalry games now, because you just don't know what may happen. And I did go to a couple of, Ducks Kings games at Honda Center fairly recently. I want to say during the year where COVID shut down everything. And even then, the fans knew, though, that there's nothing to beef about. We both suck right now. So why should we even begin to even go down that path? Now, again, I have, seen moments though where, Ducks and Kings games have gotten out of hand. Padre Dodger games have gotten out of hand. Charger Raider games got out of hand here for a long, long time. But I really don't know what could be done though. And shifting to the whole thing about like, players getting death threats and stuff and whatnot, it's like I wrote in though. Sadly, it's more along the lines of people take their team losing too damn seriously.
Mhm.
Your life, your well-being does not hinge on how the Padres have won 7 straight games this year. And it doesn't hinge on the fact that the Angels stopped an 8-game or like 10-game losing streak, or that the Packers are 1-1. Your livelihood, you being on this planet, fulfilling, your role at your job, being a better boyfriend, a better husband, a better father, a better friend to your, to whatever, should not hinge on the fact that, oh my goodness, the Padres finally are starting to win, but who cares? We're already out of it. I'm going to go and, send some hate mail to Machado or Soto or, blah, 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 blah,
Mhm.
It's like, what's the, not just, the purpose, more like, what's the point? Yeah, you're going to feel better that you took your frustration out on a player. But again, these players, can sit here and to say, well, hey, I've made $300 million more than this person. I've got 4 rings. Big deal. It's literally like a pimple popping up on prom night. Like they will not care what you say about them, regardless of what it is. And I really would, I just really hate seeing this sort of stuff happen. And I think the reason why I hate it so much is the fact that with me, having to, basically having to reprehend fans from throwing stuff onto the ice or onto the field, and I make that announcement every game, or it's voice on tape, basically. I think every ballpark basically or stadium and arena has that now where, they go over, how to evacuate the building, please be courteous to those around you and stuff like that. But, damn well no one listens to that crap in the first place. So really, I think it more so strikes a chord with me when I have to do it in the middle of a game when someone, throws a rally towel onto the ice during the course of a playoff game, or they throw a water bottle at the refs for missing a call, as we talked about again last week here on SportsMinute. That's what more so infuriates me in my line of work is stop being an idiot. And like I said, your bank account, your well-being, your cost of living is not going to be affected whether our team or your team wins or loses this game. I think James is more onto a point, though, where it's more of an issue, though, in markets where, to Adam's point, they demand perfection. They demand that you go out there, win every damn game, go unbeaten, and bring home the damn championship. And if you're not doing that, it's your fault that you let me down. Forget letting down your teammates in the organization. You not doing your job let me down. I remember Bob Ryan saying that very, very emphatically when they were talking or comparing Bill Buckner to Steve Bartman in a 30 for 30. And that sadly is just the mindset of sports fans in certain markets. And it's really, sad and despicable to see that you can literally blame a team losing on you getting out of bed the next day, making coffee and reading the newspaper. Like you're really just going to, sulk because your team lost and you're going to blame the loss on a fellow human being. I just don't get where it is. And I think James is further onto a great point, though. Guys, it's only gotten worse. It will only continue to get worse because of what we have at our disposal on these devices that we're handcuffed to every single day with Facebook and whatever the bird platform used to be called, and Instagram and Threads and Snapchat and Mastodon. You can just go out there, hide behind a fake profile and username, and send something off to Fernando Tatis Jr. You're the reason why that I'm going to commit suicide because, you guys finally won, but, you're too late. You're not going to make the playoffs, or some, malarkey like that is what drives me nuts. And I also, like James, I just get sick and tired, though, of hearing about stories of, someone dying at a fun night out with his wife because he roots for one team and someone else who roots for the other team, just happens to start stirring the pot, though. And again, I don't know what else could be done, though, but it really just is a very, very, very big crying shame that it just seems like you can't even go to a sporting event not wearing a certain team's, jersey or apparel without feeling like your life is going to be threatened, sadly, nowadays.
All right, so thank you, Callan, for that. Yes, I do agree with all that. We can go ahead and go into our final topic of the evening, which is talking about the whole Nick Chubb injury, and to where I've seen not really reports, but I've seen comments and everything to where people were saying that Minkah Fitzpatrick took a cheap shot on Nick Chubb, and that's the reason why Nick Chubb was hurt. Look, I personally saw the video. I don't think it was a cheap shot. There was a lot of players that said, hey, on Nick Chubb, the way he ran the ball, how he was so strong, you could not tackle him high. So you had to go low. And I think that's what Fitzpatrick was trying to do. I honestly think it was more of a freak accident. I don't think it was anything that was malicious in any way. But that's just me personally. I do hope a speedy recovery for Nick Chubb. Whether it's just season ending or career ending, we don't know yet. But I can tell you it looked really, really bad. So, Big B, two questions for you. Where does the Browns go from here without Nick Chubb? And do you feel like this was actually a dirty hit?
I'll put it in terms of wrestling. It was a work by the team. No, I'm just kidding, guys. No, it wasn't a dirty hit. I haven't seen the play yet because I've seen still shots, and it just grosses me out to see Nick Chubb parallel and his knee is still standing up and down. He looks like the letter L. I mean, so I kind of get squeamish a little bit, but
Same.
what the Browns are going to do, I think they went out and signed Kareem Hunt today. So I think they're going to, so they're going to bring him in. As far as the player goes, I mean, I don't think it was a cheap shot. Like I said, I didn't see the video, but prayers out to Chubb. Hopefully his career is not over, but I mean, if it is, I mean, he had a great small career, as we all know running backs' careers are short, but I hope he does come back and can go at it next year. It's just a fluke injury, and the still shot looks worse than probably what the video showed, but I mean, we all know the Theismann one they play every year. So, yeah. So, but yeah, people saying it's a cheap hit. Need to go find out what a cheap hit really is.
Yeah, because I was just asking because you can clearly tell that after Nick Chubb got hurt, the Cleveland Browns are not the same team without Chubb. They're just not.
Yeah.
Like, the Browns go where Chubb take them, and now he's not there, and so now this is going to hurt him. And I know that they signed Hunt. I know that Ford didn't do too bad after he left, but Chubb's just a whole nother animal himself. So, Crispy, do you feel like it was a cheap shot, and what do the Browns do from here?
Well, I don't think it was a cheap shot. I'll have to look at it again if I can find it. I know ESPN didn't show replays of it. That's how bad it was. So I don't know if
good on them though for not doing that.
Yep.
Yeah. So I don't know if we're gonna get another look at it, but just by watching it firsthand, I don't think so. Now they did sign Chubb and Kareem Hunt, and he was good at the time before they had Chubb. Maybe not the best, but they can still do stuff with him. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes.
Yeah, and even after ESPN said that they weren't going to show the injury, which, Callan, I do agree with you, that was good on them for not doing that. Absolutely 100% good on them. I know that fans were saying, again, it goes back to, I want to see it. And it's like, why? Like, a dude just got hurt. Like, why do you really want to see that? And so, James, what's your thoughts? Do you feel like it was a cheap shot, and what do the Browns do?
Watching the play live and then watching the replays about it, it's one of those tackles going low like that to somebody's legs that the league should really look at and just say this is not acceptable. You're talking about player safety. And I know as a defensive player, you're trying to do whatever to stop the guy in front of you, coming at you. But for him, for Micah Fitzpatrick, he already had someone tackling Chubb, and then he decided to go low, not using his hands either, using his forearm and shoulder, deliberately going low on Chubb. So that's where I feel like it was not dirty, but it was meant to be. So I think that type of hit has to be outlawed. And it was good for ESPN just to show it once. And that was it. I think that changed throughout the generations. 30 years ago, they would show the same hit, the same play, 3 or 4 times. And it would be like the Joe Theismann play from like 87, 86. It would be all those horrible plays you would think of. So I don't think it was a dirty hit, but it was meant to be malicious, to go low on someone. I don't like that. You talk about player safety, and that wasn't really a good showing there. But Michael Fitzpatrick, he's a defender. That's what he's going to do. He's just going to have to. Man, I'm shocked he hasn't been suspended, honestly. But I can see why, because there's no rule on going low. I guess it only, applies to a quarterback. If you go low on a quarterback, they'll call a flag on you. They'll have right. They'll have a right to eject you and fine you and suspend you. But remember how we started the show about running backs? But when it comes to a running back, nothing will happen to the defender. That's what sucks.
All right, so Callan, what's your thoughts? I don't know if you got to actually see the play, like see the replay or anything, but do you feel like it was kind of malicious or dirty or anything? And how do you think the Browns will do now that Chubb's gone?
Freak accident. I think there's no intent. And before everyone says, well, it's a rivalry game, Pittsburgh playing Cleveland, pump the brakes. From what I saw with the still shot of the injury that Nick Chubb unfortunately suffered, Minkah Fitzpatrick is already like being blocked by 1 or 2 Cleveland offensive linemen or blockers, and he just happens to be like wrong place, wrong time, and like James said, the forearm and the knee, just hit Chubb's leg just right, and I know right away it triggers Joe Theismann, Kevin Ware from Louisville men's basketball, who shattered his leg in the Final Four one year, to of course Alex Smith and now Nick Chubb. And again, I think all the props and praise have to go to how Joe Buck, Troy Aikman, and ESPN handled this situation. I think that they even had the Alex Smith injury happen on their watch over on ESPN, and they clearly came out and said we're not going to re-show this injury whatsoever because of the graphic nature of what we just witnessed, essentially. But I don't think that there was any intent or malicious intent by Fitzpatrick. I think it was just a freak play of he's falling down. He kind of just happens to hit Chubb in the leg. But also, we brought up about like Brady and Palmer and like the quarterbacks having rules. We forgot about wide receivers having the defenseless receiver, or defenseless player rule basically now on them. So it's almost as if I thought about saying 3 years ago is, if you're not able to actually sack the quarterback and not have to, hit a little bit of a baseball strike zone square, or, you can only hit him here, you can't hit him here, or along the lines of even if it's against a star quarterback like a Brady or a Breeze, it's almost as if, okay, at this rate, put the red jersey on the quarterback. All you can do is two-hand touch the quarterback basically. And even that case too, with when it boils down to the whole defenseless player, defenseless receiver rule that they also have in place as well. I mean, same exact thing. If they're in a vulnerable position, all you can do is just two-hand touch. So I think that even though the NFL is trying their hardest with player safety, it's a lot, guys, like the NBA and the new resting rule. It's going to be, I think, really hard to enforce, new safety rules, but also it's going to be, I think, even more difficult to even properly teach players like proper tackling techniques nowadays because, don't go for the head, don't use your helmet. I still though would be fully on board if the NFL ever went the route of a targeting rule like in college because if you can't get away with it in college, then why should you be allowed to get away with it in the NFL? I know if they have unnecessary roughness or, blindside blocks are being called now or what have you. But I think that it would be just really, really difficult, I think, to kind of change the way that football has been played for 50, 60, 70 years, with, how you're supposed to tackle, whether it's right or wrong, right technique, wrong technique. But with Cleveland across the board, though, again, I think them signing Kareem Hunt's going to help, though, but it certainly won't be the same, having Nick Chubb in there. But again, still, though, Hunt is still, I think, has a lot to, offer to the table. But again, just a really unfortunate situation. I don't really think that there was any will intent behind, Fitzpatrick's hit, though. Again, I know it's Cleveland and Pittsburgh. It's a rivalry game and blah, 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 blah. But again, at the same time, you have to kind of blur that line, though. Like, yes, it is that. But again, there was nothing behind that like screams to me that it was a dirty hit, on Chubb. I think it was just wrong place, wrong time, and just a very unfortunate, accident that happened.
Okay, well, yeah, and we are kind of seeing. I feel like, and kind of going back to the running backs, like how you were saying before, I do feel like for some reason the running backs this year have had horrible bad luck. Like you're seeing a lot of running backs this season get injured.
It almost feels like they jinxed themselves when they all said that we should be getting paid better. I mean, I hate to say that. I hate to say it's like cruel irony, but Jiminy Christmas. Saquon Barkley goes down again. Nick Chubb has his injury. I think a few other running backs have gone down. Like, ouch.
Yep. Aaron Jones did with a hamstring, and I mean, there's like two other ones that I'm like, oh yeah, and J.K. Dobbins with a torn Achilles, and
yep.
I'm like, it's crazy.
It's happening.
They're just dropping like flies since week one, and so you're right. It could have just jinxed them a little bit by saying I want this money or whatever. But
Yeah,
go ahead, Crispy. You're gonna say something.
I was gonna say, it all started with that meeting, and then it just went downhill.
All right, so yep, we're at that time now. It's been another fun show. So, Crispy, any final thoughts for you, sir?
Thanks everyone for watching, tuning in. Thanks for the birthday wishes, and stay tuned for SportsMinute next week.
All right, James.
Chris, I got your birthday money right here. Yeah, check me out on On Deck with Chris on Saturday morning, hopefully, and then maybe on Morning Tailgate. But check Coast to Coast for all the entertainment and programming throughout the week. It's going to be awesome. Bye.
All right, and then Callan, and also are you doing your show tomorrow too?
Yes, we will be having press row tomorrow around 1:00 in the afternoon. Quick scheduling note, because I got a huge event coming up next Friday. I'll be taking next Thursday off from doing the program. We will though be having press row tomorrow. We'll be covering probably a big story in baseball, guys. The Rays getting their new stadium within the next 3 to 5 years in St. Petersburg. So at least one team will stay put while we still, of course, wait for what's going on in Oakland. But we'll also, again, bring you more what's going on with sports media and sports business, again, around 1:00 Pacific time, 3:00 Central. And, glad I was able to hop on after I got off work today, at least able to contribute via the comment box for a bit. But, glad to be able to at least, kind of get something, a few things off my chest, though, when it's come down to, fan misbehavior at games. Again, 15 years in the business, and, you see a lot every so often. But, again, I just hate kind of hearing about these stories of like, people going to enjoy a game and then all of a sudden like this sort of stuff takes place. But again, see you tomorrow in the afternoon, and going to be working on some hopefully some good content for everyone tomorrow for the afternoon.
All right, and Big B.
Nah, thanks for everybody for watching. Like we've said, keep checking in all week long. We got something going on. And again, guys, if you're going to sporting events, be civil. The game doesn't impact you. Enjoy the game. Trash talk, friendliness is a different story. But when it comes down to blows and throwing stuff, it's uncalled for. So just enjoy the game.
All right, we definitely want to thank everybody for watching. Don't forget tomorrow night also, we're having a special edition of Between the Ropes tomorrow night. So stay tuned for that also. And we're looking forward to Press Row tomorrow. So with that, we hope everybody has a fantastic night, and we'll see you next Wednesday for another episode of Sports Minute.